sure know where I've been, hanging on the promises and songs of yesterday. And I've made up my mind, I ain't wasting no more time. Here I go again, here I go again. Though I keep searching for an answer, never seem to find what I'm looking for. Lord, I pray you give me strength to carry on, 'cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. Here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone, and I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. I'm just another heart in need of rescue, waiting on love's sweet charity. And I'm gonna hold on for the rest of my days, 'cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone, and I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time, but here I go again. Here I go again. Here I go again. Here I go. Cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone, and I've made up my mind. I ain't wasting no more time. And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone, 'cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known.
Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way. Don't ask for all your things back, cussing out my name, yeah, just to go and take back what you say. Burn all the bridges, don't ask forgiveness, walk away like I'm someone you hate. Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way.
If it's over, so fuck it. Just don't act like my love wasn't nothing. Like I wasn't the one you was holding that night, telling all of your secrets and hugging. Guess you right, it's too good to be true. Was a point, all I needed was you. But shit, time after time, I just fussing and fighting. It's time that you do what you do. And it's cool. Mama said it was fish in the sea, I got lost in the pool. Knew it was coming, I watched how you move, how you turn your back on me and leave me to lose. Remember the text, how you said that you do. Said that you never leave, we would fight till it's due. But as it went on, I was fighting for you. Since the text turned green, why the fuck it ain't blue? Guess you done and I get it. Said you staying, you wanted my name and you left, so I'm guessing that you never meant it. Said you try and hold on cause the love was so strong, now I'm standing alone in this kitchen. Singing sad songs, but I'm knowing that this shit don't last long. If you leaving, then leave cause your bag's gone. But just know you can never come back home.
Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way. Don't ask for all your things back, cussing out my name, yeah, just to go and take back what you say. Burn all the bridges, don't ask forgiveness. Walk away like I'm someone you hate. Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way.
If you say that you done, ain't no take back. Said you fell out of love and I hate that. But see me, I was stuck like a drug, really feeling for love, and somehow I can't shake back. When you walked out that door, I was hurting. All the dreams in my head, you was perfect. You remember the very first time that we chilled and I reached for your hand where them nerves at. Time to pass, but shit, that's what it do. It be times I be sick sitting thinking about you. It was death do us part. See, you gave me the blue, really played with my heart. Left me lost in confused, like this shit was fair game, but you made it the rules. On my heart, left a scar and a bruise. Hope that you can stand on all the shit that you did. Cause I'm done, y'all finally through.
Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way. Don't ask for all your things back, cussing out my name, yeah, just to go and take back what you say. Burn all the bridges, don't ask forgiveness. Walk away like I'm someone you hate. Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? I am one of those melodramatic fools, neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Am I just stuck? I went to a shrink to analyze my dreams. She says it's like a sex that's bringing me down. I went to a whore. He said my life's a bore. Choke with my white cause it's bringing her down. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Grasping to control, so I better hold on. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Like a
really proud of this. I've educated my security team on how to be involved with the design and construction
Love it.
aspects of a project. So very rarely are we bringing in a third party who is going to say, yeah, you need a camera there, you need a camera here, right? I pride myself that my teams are doing that internally.
Everyone has a part in the security and safety of all of our guests and employees. And it doesn't stop just if security is in your title.
I assure you, as the day is long, within the next 5 years, we're going to have a drone attack in a school with a payload.
Let's say you're new in your position, safety security director or whatever, chief of police maybe, whatever your position is, but you have no funding. You've got no bodies, no SROs. What are you doing day one, phase one, to make sure that you do create some kind of push towards a secure and more safe environment for the kids?
I am laser focused on making sure that kid or kiddos feel connected to that campus.
If you got something to say, step on up to the plate. Name a time, name a place. You sign the line, got debt to pay. Word ain't worth it.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of SVIP Live. This is a weekly series that exclusively highlights end users in the security industry, encompassing both physical and cybersecurity. Got another great guest for SVIP Live this week. Before I introduce him, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors today, Volt AI. Really cool technology, really cool threat detection platform. There's a QR code on this screen where you guys can scan that with your phone and check out what Volt AI is all about. So go check them out, and thank you, Volt, for sponsoring this interview. All right, well, guys and girls, this is a familiar face if you've been seeing an episode of my podcast in the past, but this gentleman's name is Daniel Henderson. He's the manager of security and parking services for Regional One Health out there in Memphis, Tennessee. And Daniel, my friend, welcome to SVIP Live. How are you?
Man, I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Let's man, you and I have talked often, man, and I really appreciate what you're doing for the industry. You bring a very healthy perspective from the end user side to the industry, especially in healthcare, but also just in general, kind of what you're doing and leading the way. But I guess, my man, before we dive into obviously what you're doing, what you're seeing, solutions you're utilizing, give me some context, give our listeners some context today about who you are and what you're all about.
So my name is Daniel Henderson. I am Daniel. Daniel is kind of the best way to sum me up. I have over 2 decades of experience in healthcare security and the security realm, including security system technology, so CCTVs, access control. I have a IT background. I have a bachelor's in information technology with a concentration in networking. I'm currently working on my MBA as we speak, and I have a passion for people. I have a passion for keeping people safe, and I have a passion for learning. I'm one of those people who believe that I can learn from anyone at any given time, especially my daughter. My daughter keeps me learning all the time. Every fact that she learned, I learn with her. So I'm just a person trying to keep people safe and trying to help educate and learn at the same time.
One of the things, Daniel, is probably our first discussion that's resonated with me today. It's been years since our podcast, but you said, kind of just rinsed and repeated what you said. You said to me on that episode on our podcast, you said, I've always believed in being a continuous learner. And that's always resonated with me because I feel the same way about always being able to be in that position to learn and engage. Because you're right, you can always learn something new despite the challenges and things that evolve in the industry. And it's funny you mentioned your kid, because I feel like we all learn things from the younger generation now, especially around technology. They're a lot smarter now when it comes to picking up things, and so they're coming up in a whole different world. But going back to that point, being a continuous learner, congrats on getting or pursuing your MBA. That's awesome. Do you feel like in your position today at Regional One Health, or maybe just in healthcare in general, do you feel like having that kind of degree can expand your opportunity with an organization at the end user level, or do you feel like that's not necessarily a requirement to scale? Because I say that because there's always a debate now whether or not school in a degree is important for your career, and how is that going to project me for salary expectations. But what do you think? What do you think in healthcare specifically around having that degree or advancement when it comes to your career?
So for me, I think I speak like everyone else. We're all looking for growth. So The hope is the degree adds that value that you need. But to be honest, has always been a goal of mine, and I'm one of those people, man. I set a goal. I started the year out writing out goals, and the NBA was on that list, and it's been on the list for the last 4 years. So um, I think that there is an advantage to getting certified, and there's an advantage to getting a degree. I think it just depends on the climate that you're in. I think it depends on what you want to do. Some people have the desires or aspire to be at the next level or whatever the next level is for them, and how they identify what the next level is. And some of those things has requirements. I was always taught if you want to go to the next level, you have to look up and see what they're doing. So if they're wearing suits, hey, let's put on a suit, no matter how uncomfortable it is. If they are attending meetings and volunteering for projects and assignments and innovation, you want to volunteer for those projects and assignments. So having the opportunity to take advantage of not only the educational piece, but any certifications, attending webinars and things that to learn to be better in my role and within the healthcare organization to add value. Innovation is a big thing in every vertical market, but in healthcare, being able to look at things through different lenses is very important. So I believe it from an educational standpoint, if that's what you desire to do your research. You want to go back to school, go back to school. You feel like school is too hard, learn more certifications help catapult you to that next level. But I I tell people all the time, I don't any market that I talk to that work for any other market, I want to know, hey, look, what will it take to take me to the next level in your market? So, and a lot of people are more prone to let you know and explain it to you. So I'm appreciative of those type of things.
Yeah, and that's commendable, man. I mean, that's one of the things I always appreciated about you is always looking for what's next and how can I advance, my career, whether it's personally or professionally. And I relate to that too. My wife finds this kind of annoying sometimes, but I'm goal obsessed, man. I love setting goals and obviously achieving goals, but then I'll set a new goal. So always I like it's a kind of a habit I have, and you obviously have the same thing. But I agree, man. It's obviously dependent on what you want to focus on in your career, whether a specific degree or area of expertise is makes the most sense for you. You have to pursue the right level of education for that. But I think you and I are on the same page of it's always important to be a continuous learner, and I commend you for obviously raising your hand a lot because you do that a lot, man. You raise your hand for opportunities, you voice your skill set. And another thing too, Daniel, that I appreciate about you is you have enough humility to learn from someone else and ask those questions when you don't know. And that's one of the things I think that end users that I've met and have the opportunity to develop rapport with, they say that all the time. Say, hey Taylor, look, if I don't know something, like I keep my mouth shut, or I go to my peer who might be another casino or retailer or healthcare professional, and I'll ask them the same question, and we all learn and collaborate together. So I think that again, that whole message there kind of resonates as far as education. But I do want to talk about 2025 healthcare challenges. Honestly, this is not an arena where I've got too much expertise in, because obviously my background is a lot in casinos. I mean, that's obviously where I lived and breathed in my career primarily. But healthcare, man, is very interesting because again, similar to a casino, you guys are open 24/7. So you have a lot of things going on. You have pregnancies, you've got surgeries, you've got labor, special procedures going on. So you've got different areas of the hospital that are, accessible versus not accessible. So I guess from your perspective, what do you think is like the hottest challenge right now for healthcare professionals like yourself when it comes to safety and security for 2025?
Honestly, in my opinion, that answer is kind of multifaceted. So
Yeah.
kind of break down the healthcare environment where I'm currently working. Not only are we a level one trauma center, and we have a amazing women's center. We have a bunch of specialty skilled nursing units. We have the regional firefighter burn center. We have amazing surgical and medical oncology, and we see people at their most vulnerable moments. We have a great inpatient rehab hospital. So we are in a market where not only do we serve those that are able to pay, but we serve the underserved community. And we see them at their most catastrophic events sometimes. Sometimes we see them just when they're coming to get news about their child and their pregnancy, or they're coming to get news about their test results. And one of the biggest challenges we see a lot is workplace violence.
Mm.
And it's violence against one another, violence against staff. We see that's a challenge that we're daily combating. Of course, active shooter is the same for everyone. We're constantly watching things that's happening in politics, things that's happening in the world, things that's happening in other organizations, because those things have the tendency to trickle down to impact other hospitals, other healthcare environments, copycatters, people who want to try those same things. So constantly, we're looking at how to minimize and mitigate a lot of the risk that comes with dealing with our patient population. We are constantly watching how when we allow vendors into our facility, what interests do we allow them in? How much access do we give? We're also a teaching organization, so the students, what access do we give them when they come on our campus and we hand them a badge? Do we require them to stay with a buddy, or is it one of those situations where we just give them free reign and access throughout our organization? So every day we're looking at new challenges, but some of the everyday challenges is mitigating that workplace violence, constantly making sure that we are at the tip top shape of our de-escalation skills, being able to communicate effectively across all communication barriers. Because our patients just are not just English speaking patients. We have patients from all over the country that come and receive our services one way or another, and we have to look at a bunch of diversity and how we adapt our level of care and how we care for those patients as well.
It's funny, Daniel, because Brian Nattell and Adam Smith, who are both healthcare professionals, I've had them on SVIP Live a couple weeks ago. Brian works for Summit Health in New Jersey. Adam Smith works for UC Health in Colorado. He says the same. They say the same thing that you just said: workplace violence, workplace safety. That's a huge element for healthcare professionals and obviously other verticals. But the last thing that, especially I just had a son at a hospital about a month ago. The last thing that I would want to worry about is an active shooter or a threat, when I'm having a delivery of a kid, and I think that's one of the things that people don't realize is maybe they just have this autoimmune mentality in place. Well, this place is going to be safe because I expect it to be safe, when situations like active shooters and active aggressors and threats can happen at any point in time. But I'm not trying to be paranoid or anything, but I think having that conversation with not just guests who visit a retailer or a hospital or a casino is important, but your own employees, man. Like having staff and teachers and nurses and janitorial staff, etc. Like if they don't feel safe to work there, then they're not gonna, work there. So their attrition rate, the attrition rate, those things that you have to factor in as well as the head of security for that hospital. It's like that's important, especially for the growth and scale of revenue and operations with Regional One.
Right, and I'm lucky enough to have a great director and a deputy director who we bounce ideas off each other,
Yeah.
and we use our backgrounds to most definitely create those policies and processes and trainings, and we work diligently to make sure that we're prepared for what's next, especially working on our safety and our risk departments and professional development departments and organizational development departments to make sure that we're getting out enough education for our staff to be ready and prepared for anything. A lot of times, and a saying that comes up in a lot of meetings is not if, it's when. So when it happens, are we prepared in that case? And I tell them the measure of safety is usually how people's perception of it. And I said, if you build a wall around your house with barbed wire and a bunch of dogs and you still don't feel safe, if you put a bunch of cameras and biometric scanners and you have to do these bunch of steps to get into your house and you still don't feel safe, the answer is that you're not safe. And Every day in every market, we're all battling the perception of safety and what safety looks like, while also battling aesthetics.
Right.
You know, how things look, especially when you're operating a healthcare facility. I can't put bars on windows, and I can't make it sound like a prison cell when the door closes, because people, well, I don't want to be here. It can't be safe in those situations. So we try to find the perfect balance of aesthetics and safety. But we take safety very seriously, and we make sure that message gets across our entire organization, um, so that everyone can kind of see, hey, look, we're serious about this, and but we need your help. And we enlist our staff as well. If you see something, say something. Let us know what's going on. Because even boots on the ground, those out in the field every day can see things that sometimes we cannot see.
Well, it's funny you mentioned aesthetics, design, and construction. That's kind of what Brian's responsibility is as well at Summit Health. Not only does he handle, safety and security, but he handles design and construction, and obviously aesthetics play a huge element in that, especially when building a new hospital. Right? You don't want to rip and replace things. You rather do it once and do it right with the right tools and equipment. And to your point, being able to not make it look like a prison cell or an unsafe environment for staff as well as guests is huge, especially with even schools. I'm sure you've seen it with schools. They sometimes put things in place because of perception or issues, and it kind of rubs parents the wrong way when you have to check in at it looks like a jail cell half the time. But you're right there. Joe Doe, another thing you brought up, Joe Doe. So the same thing. He's the VP of MGM. Safety and security is a shared responsibility, right? It shouldn't just fall on you and your deputy director and director. Like, it should also have some kind of influence on nurses and doctors and guests, and to be able to say, hey, look, Daniel, this does not look right, man. I saw this over here. Can you please look into it? Because again, like, it's more than difficult for one person to handle that at all. Even technology can't solve it all. But if you have a consensus of people at the hospital or the school or the retail, and they're all having that situational awareness, and makes things a little bit easier. And the schools that I talk to, Dan, will say the same thing about students. Like, it's great to have technology, it's great to have school resource officers, all that's great and fine and dandy, but if I do not have that, what's my next best option? It's building that culture of students that will come to me and say, hey, this is going on, or this student's doing this. Like, that's the difficult thing, that I think a lot of we have to kind of conceptualize around the security industry. It's not just gonna solve challenges by just selling you a product. Like, you got to make sure you've got the basics in place, and I think having that culture in place is a huge element. But Daniel, I'm rambling right now, man, because there's a lot of things I like to talk to you about. But we do have our first question, my friend. We got a couple questions that came in, and I do want to encourage the audience, if you have a question for Daniel, please let me know. But this question is from Chadwick Colton. Daniel, his question is, do you still see a benefit of the high cost program CPI for security and healthcare? I'm not familiar with that, but
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
So CTI is crisis prevention intervention. I am a proponent of CPI. I think the overall program is kind of a great foundation for de-escalation. So, Chad, to answer your question, I see the benefit. We also use a program that was developed by UT in conjunction with our hospital called MAPS, which is Management of Aggressive Patient Situations. And we primarily use it with our nursing staff to help them start the de-escalation process. CPI has its benefits. It can be costly. It can be a costly program. I think for every organization, you have to figure out how to implement CPI or MOAB, if that's what you use, in those situations to help with de-escalation and dealing with those aggressive patient situations. I like CPI from a standpoint of, once we get to the risk behavior, the appropriate physical holds to minimize the risk of injury and minimize the risk of any legal complications when it comes to detaining or helping with that de-escalation portion of those risk behaviors. So yeah, I see the benefit. It's one of those. It's like a muscle. If you work at it, it'll grow. But if you don't work at it, if you don't use it often, you find those opportunities. And I encourage anyone who uses CPI. They send out surveys quite often. If you see a failure in it, please share that with them so that they can better their program. I think a lot of times, and that's with anything, even with products, I think sharing our opinion helps make the product better. But a lot of times we choose not to share. We just won't use it anymore and move to something else so that that company doesn't grow or get better because we don't share our challenges with it.
I'll add to that too, Daniel. I mean, obviously, when you use product and maybe it works great as advertised, and it's great. You want to share it with other people and be like, "Yeah, I found a product. It works great. You should use it." But if maybe it comes with a new product and you use it and it doesn't do what it's advertised to do, or it fails, not a lot of people are vocal enough to admit the failures with the manufacturer. Number one, but tell their peers like, "Hey, you should not implement this solution," or if you do, this is my experience with this XYZ solution. So that's one of the other things I like about you is you are vocal enough when it comes to the pros and cons of solutions or products that you choose to utilize. But great question, Chadwick. Thank you for that question, my friend. Another question, Daniel, that came in is from Marty. Marty is a fellow end user, by the way, Daniel. So end user to end user. Marty works for Oklahoma Gas and Energy. So just to give us some context about Marty. Marty's a great friend of mine as well. But his question is, what's the biggest day-to-day security challenge in healthcare in your opinion? What's your thoughts on improving that issue? I think we alluded to that a little bit earlier, but maybe expand on that, Daniel, on your perspective.
Oh, so for me, for us, it's design. How many access points do you have is one of the biggest things that keep me up at night. How people enter our facility, what process do they go through to actually be allowed access. I'm a big access control guy. I'm an advocate for access control. I don't believe that you have to lock down every door, but I do believe you need processes in place. So vendor management, visitor management for employees, and building those access groups for what they actually just need access to, identifying the doors that you consider high risk doors or specialized areas and building groups for those, as well as your general areas, identifying what areas you're okay with people walking through. That's one of the biggest things for me. The biggest challenges for me is controlling access, making sure that every department speaks with security before allowing a vendor to come work on property to ensure that their vendors follow our process and procedures, even if it's just for a one-time fix, just developing a plan to allow them access to our facility and we're knowing who's on our campus.
It's another thing I want to allude to what Adam Smith told me again. Adam's the director of security for UC Health in Colorado, and you'll find this funny too because I've said this to you as well, Daniel. When it comes to an end user, I always tell end users the first question you should ask to any manufacturer or any demo you get at a trade show is, "Hey, manufacturer, where do you suck or where do you fall short? What's the weaknesses?" And a lot of the time, man, you might not get that answer from the manufacturer, or if you do, that at least gives you some kind of foundation of trust and rapport to have an open dialogue and discussion about XYZ product. But that's one of the things that I know you do very well is you always ask that question is, "Hey man, where do you guys fall short when it comes to your solution?" Great question, Marty. We have got a question actually from my wife, Daniel. This is my wife, so her name's Kate. She's a great mama, obviously a beautiful wife. She's surviving obviously with postpartum still, but she's doing great. But this is her question for you. Over the next 10 years, what do you foresee as the biggest change to come for security in healthcare?
Oh man, Kate, I thought you liked me enough not to ask me the hard questions. But I mean, over the next 10 years, I think technology most definitely would play a big part. My hope is that human component is still there, that the ability to engage is still there. I think that we use technology a lot, and if you look at the way things go in technology, they're making technology for everything. So it kind of takes the human element out. I think the biggest change would be actually incorporating technology in every aspect, even in healthcare. I mean, they're building robots for everything. AI is making a huge rise right now, and I love AI. But being a guy who loves tech, I would have to say that human element will kind of be removed within the next 10 years a little bit. If we don't kind of prepare for it. I mean, healthcare, of course, you always have the human touch because you're always going to need nurses and doctors and that staff. But in a lot of industries, that it seems like the human is being removed from a lot of industries, and that ability to connect has changed. So my hope is that we find a perfect balance of technology and that human element, that human engagement, and where it will be there for years to come.
It's an interesting point because casinos say the same thing right now with brick and mortar casinos, and I've said this countless times. Of, there's these casinos that have this virtual experience and VR headsets. So for as a customer, what's driving me to go spend money at a brick and mortar casino when I can put on my VR headset and gamble online and sit on the couch and drink a beverage versus filling up my car with gas and spending money. And so there's a fine balance there too about how am I going to continue to drive revenue and that human experience. And it comes down to what you just said. It's adding that white glove experience, that personalization, that feel good experience. Because that's a good point there too. My wife was referring to it the next 10 years because there's conversations about obviously nurses, or not nurses, but like robots doing these procedures now. And so how are you seeing that at all? You think like robots are actually going to do these surgical procedures and kind of eliminate the use of a doctor or a physician? What do you see there?
So I do not. I know some great surgeons and doctors and nurses. I can't see a robot taking over and actually doing a surgery without some type of human influence. Um, I've seen quite a bit of technology that I think works, but it still needs a human to operate and make sure things run smoothly. So, I mean, I know me personally, if I was going in for another ACL surgery, I wouldn't want a robot doing the surgery. I would want somebody who has the ability to feel and be empathic towards my concerns and my fears. So I can see us using robots more, but I don't see us using robots without the human element.
Speaking of robots, another question from Marty here, Daniel, and this kind of alludes to the emerging technology conversation that I always love to have around what's next, what's innovative, what are we seeing? Robots have been around for a long time, but there are robotic solutions now like drones and obviously robot dogs that can do these perimeter searches and keep the perimeter secure. But from your perspective, any emerging technology that you're specifically excited about right now in the industry?
Man, I'm a big analytics person. I love the direction that analytics is going. I know we tried it some years ago, and it seemed to be more perfected now, especially being embedded in cameras, being able to pull data and information. Um, I don't, for those who work in the security world, data is our biggest advocate when it comes to asking for budgets and asking for something new. So um, the emerging technologies for me, not necessarily robots, even though I do think they're cool. I've seen the patrol dogs and the robot that kind of roams around and then goes back to his charger. The drones that people are using to give the bird's eye view of the campuses and kind of goes to emergency calls, especially on the exterior. But for me, it's that analytics portion, the analytics piece that are being utilizing the cameras and a lot of the security systems that I'm most excited about to give us that platform where the data is there. And we not only can see the data, but it's also analyzing that data for us. Because I am an old school person, even though I'm a tech guy, I'm one of those people who does the math for percentages. So yeah, I'm excited about the analytics portion.
Well, speaking of analytics, that's a great segue to obviously what Volt AI does. Volt AI, Daniel, obviously happy to show and introduce you to those guys, but if you're not familiar with them, but threat detection platform, they have really cool analytics and they're really cool tracking mechanisms in there, especially if someone's carrying a weapon and maybe they drop it, you want to know where that person went. They've got a solution for that. So they've got some cool things that they're doing. In addition to that, obviously, when it comes to analytics and these kind of emerging technology companies, to Marty's point, we've seen a lot of obviously face track, LPR, LiDAR, weapon detection, etc. But when healthcare specifically, you're dealing with HIPAA half the time. And so when it comes to HIPAA and it comes to privacy, how are you balancing the use of cutting edge technology in tandem and compliance with, HIPAA regulations?
So communication, collaboration. So you utilize the departments that are responsible for those compliance issues. So your corporate compliance, your risk department, your legal department. Before you introduce anything into your organization, your IT security, you want to make sure that whatever technology you introduce is compliant in all ways. You most definitely don't want to install something that opens you up to so many vulnerabilities, no matter how cool it looks. And I will admit, I've seen some technology that has blown my mind, and I'm like, man, we need this. But Taylor, as you know, I'm one of those things like, hey, what do you suck? What are some problems that you have seen? And I reach out and I ask people who have used, and I believe I'll tell anyone, ask for references for companies that they're already working with. And I don't care how small the company is, reach out to those companies and say, hey, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Sometimes, and we all have the tendency to do this, we put cost before quality. And sometimes we make things work, but they're not exactly what we need in order to um, provide what we need as far as our safety and security goes.
Well, one of the things too, Daniel, and I've had this conversation with Ron Self. He's a school safety expert. He works for Baldwin and Shell Construction Company, but he was a former superintendent in Little Rock, Arkansas. Obviously, he held director of security titles for schools. But he's like, Taylor, if you don't have the basics, none of these emerging technology companies are going to make sense in your environment. It's just overkill. And what he means by basics is obviously locks on doors, right? Or analog to IP cameras. Like you imagine, and obviously healthcare is a little bit different, but schools, man, they're still using key fobs or they're using manual keys. Some of those schools, man, are just really outdated. And so, yeah, the fancy bells and whistles like a drone or patrol dog, an AI company, like that's all fine and dandy, but like you don't even have the fucking basics to even implement something like that, So don't do that, right? That's the
And, and,
council.
and I can agree, man. We're the oldest hospital in the state of Tennessee, so I mean we still have doors that have key locks on it, and we still have some analog cameras that we are phasing out. And for some areas, those things work.
Yeah.
For what they're used for, they work. I think your policies and your processes should match what you're implementing. So if you want to introduce a new technology, I'll not tell anybody. If you're analog, start with the IP cameras before you before you do anything else. Before you go buy a drone, start with the basics. If you have key locks, identify the doors that you rather not have key access to, and have the fail safes in place in case of power outages and things of that nature, backup power, generator power. You want to make sure your systems are connected to some type of emergency power supply in the event that something catastrophic happens. So I'm a strong believer that those processes in place, and you build from where you are, not from what you've seen on TV or in the news. My son is always funny when we watch movies and it's kind of futuristic. He's like, Dad, do you do that? Like that's cool. Like you guys should invest in that. And I was like, hey, look, son, I'm just trying to add a brand new multi-sensor camera somewhere. And one day, yeah, we'll get to that point to where we can pull objects out the sky and create these virtual 3D floor plans.
Yeah.
But right now, I just want what's next from where I am. So
Yeah, and I like to paint the perspective that I think every end user, man, I try to add this humane element to every conversation I have, and it's a lesson for manufacturers as well as integrators. Like at the end of the day, end users are just trying to do the best they can do with what they have at the end of the day, right? And so some end users have more tools than others. Some end users have capital and resources and bodies, and some end users don't. They have to go through bureaucracy and politics and bullshit. But I think at the end of the day, if we can just relate to that and resonate with that and say, look, I understand that you might not be equipped with XYZ, but here's what I can do for you today, or here's a solution that you can do today, or whatever it may that be. It could just be advice, could just be education. It doesn't have to be a certain point of product. That humane element, I like to just kind of steer home and spearhead too, especially for the security industry, man, because again, and you know this, Daniel, a lot of people are just out for the sale, out for that quick buck versus really developing, that relationship. But we have another question. Questions are coming in like fire today. I like these questions. This might be a little bit long. I'm gonna have to read on the right here. But another question from Chadwick. As a guard service provider, I've provided security services at numerous healthcare sites. If you use guard service vendors, what, in your opinion, is the biggest struggle in the vendor partnership in general? And second, what are the pros of using a good service partner?
So I come from a guard service provider. Before I became the manager for Region 1 Health, I worked for a guard service provider company. So here are the cons. Here are the struggle. Number one, staffing. Depending on the market that you're operating out of, it's kind of a revolving door of officers, and it can be a struggle in finding good employees. But I always tell people, give me the struggle employees. I can turn them into some of the best employees you'll ever see because I'm going to identify where their passion push purpose. So I'm going to identify where their passion is, and we're going to grow together. I think also contractually for guard services, they struggle with I've been a frontline officer, what I get paid versus what the company gets paid. I really think that everybody needs to look at, what are we trying to do here? If we're going to continue with a contract service, how do we make the staff more invested, building that partnership truly, ensuring that our policies and our procedures align with the clients that are being served. That was the biggest con for me, is our policies do not align with the work we did on certain sites. But as you sit down and have a conversation and bring all the people, the change makers to the table to make the necessary adjustments for the guard service. The pros of using
Oh, looks like we lost Daniel for a minute. I'll give him a second to hop back online. But great question there, Chadwick. Oh, there he is. All right. Let me bring him back in. All right, there we go.
Back to where I was, but the guard service is responsible for training and supplying the staff. And I'm a strong proponent of holding the guard service accountable for. But when I worked for them, I wanted to make sure that I was hiring the right people. And sometimes that can be a struggle when there's a immediate need. And you kind of you find yourself, taking what you can get. And that's when I learned the true definition of leadership is not what I have, but what I can build. And I'm a very resourceful individual. So if you're working for a guard service, I'm pretty sure, Chad, you're doing the best job that you can with what you have. I would say continue to communicate your challenges, especially on that front line, because the higher you go up in some services, the less you see. And I would make sure that whoever's responsible for the change in your world, they need to know how to make that change happen.
Love it. Great counsel. Great question. I love the engagement there. So Chadwick, thank you for the question. We have just a comment on a question. He just says, "Yo, Daniel." So I don't know if you know this username or not. Daniel.
What's up, man? How you doing? Hey, that's Terrell Naylor with Ronin K9, the Running Guard Services. Yeah, he great guy, great program.
There we go. That's why I wanted to highlight, guys. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and of course LinkedIn. So we are multicasting this live interview across those streaming platforms. Again, if you're not familiar with Daniel Henderson, he's the manager of security and parking services for Regional 1 Health in Memphis, Tennessee. And speaking upon that, Daniel, Memphis, Tennessee, I'm not going to beat around the bush, man. High crime environment in Memphis, dude. You're dealing with one of the highest crime cities in the whole nation. And so when it comes to healthcare safety, but also just being safe in that city, man, like what What's the mentality like, dude? Because honestly, you see the news, you see things happen. And I know everyone doesn't read too much into the news, but Memphis is not the safest place in the world. We could put that politely. But what are you doing, man? Like, how do you resonate with that kind of environment, dude?
So I would say this, man. Memphis is my city.
Yeah.
It's where I was born and raised. When I watch the news, it's disheartening to see people's perception. I'm from here. We most definitely have our opportunities. We're not above crime. I've been to communities outside of Memphis, outside of the state of Tennessee, that I feel have just as much crime as we have here. I think per capita, yes, it looks like a lot for us, but we have an opportunity here, and I think if our communities would band together and work together to help change it, we will get off that list. Memphis is a great place to be. I have friends who come and visit all the time. We see the crime on the news, but it doesn't impact us a lot. I grew up in a neighborhood where crime was prevalent, and it was there, and I saw it every day. And I moved to a neighborhood when I became an adult where I didn't see a whole lot of crime. So I think it's where you are, where you're going, what you do. For us, because we're in the center of this city, for us, we're kind of in the middle of all the neighborhoods that are impacted by crime, and we see the impact that it has on our young people. We see the impact that it has on our employees. We see the impact that it has on our vendors, and I understand. My goal is to change where I can change. So I'm every day I'm trying to set the example. Every day I'm trying to be different, and every day I'm trying to help someone keep themselves safe. I tell anyone, if you don't have to do it, don't do it. If you feel uncomfortable in the environment, leave. If someone is arguing with you or trying to create an uncomfortable situation, it's easier to walk away than make a decision that will make a decision for you. So I'm a strong believer. I don't let temporary emotions make permanent decisions in my life, and I ensure that I try to instill that in everyone that I come in contact with and encounter. Like I said, for me, I haven't been directly impacted by crime recently in the past few years, but yeah, Memphis is a high crime. It has been a high crime area, but I think we're on the road to change. I think we're on the road to getting better, and in doing so, we do that through continuous engagement within our communities. There are some changes that we need in our communities. There's some help that we need. So, those out there listening and watching, if you have an idea, I tell citizens get out and vote. Vote for the person that is looking for change, and be the change that you expect from others, because we have to set the example.
Well, and that's the reason why I promote end users, man, especially when it comes to situations like this. I want people to know what you're doing when it comes to what people may see or in the news or the media or online or whatever about a certain environment or city, because obviously when people say things like that, and the same thing applies for school districts and their enrollment rates, is if they see high crime, then the obligation of sending your kid there is probably pretty low. And the same thing with a city or a town. If they see high crime, like why would I want to raise a family there? Which in the end hurts the whole reputation of a city, because obviously a city wants to generate income. But this is why I created SVIP, so I can say, hey, look, Daniel's doing XYZ at Regional One Health to build that safe and secure more environment. He's open, he's collaborative, he's being a pioneer when it comes to new cutting edge tech. So that at least gives people reassurance that, hey, look, again, Daniel's doing everything in his power to make this world a better place, especially with what he has around him for Regional One Health. And I'll tell you this, man, Memphis has some incredible food, number one. But number two, you get the pyramid there, Bass Pro Pyramid, man. That's the best like freaking Bass Pro I've ever been to in my life, right there in Memphis, dude. The pyramid.
Yeah, but for Memphis native, man, the pyramid is where the Tigers played, and they played the best games in the pyramid. The Grizzlies played the best games in the pyramid. I love the FedEx Forum, but the pyramid for me was the place that we went when, you know, it was the only real big attraction outside of Liberty Land and Bill Street for us. So
Yeah.
even seeing the pyramid, and I'm an avid fisherman, so I'm always in Bass Pro as well. So I enjoy it all, but and I will add to the crime in Memphis. Crime happens where the resources are limited. So, um, we need resources to help mitigate crime, and we need things in our communities that really makes an impact for those impoverished neighborhoods. Poor neighborhoods are more proponent to crime, and there are resources that are needed, and it's going to take work. It didn't happen overnight, and it won't be solved overnight. But I think if we all work together in our communities, we'll make the change that we need. And Memphis, like, man, we need to know what Memphis is doing after a while. Like you said, the food is great. We have a lot of great places, and some of the best foods you'll find in the front yard of someone's house with the grill out front. So if you're ever in Memphis, come on down. We have more than just Bill Street, but we have a lot of places that can be touched, and you can see our culture and our environment.
Amen, man. Again, it's a shared responsibility, and obviously, I will add to the Bass Pro Pyramid, one of the best. I know you live there, but if you've stayed there, you obviously know this. Like, I think they got the best like showers, man. that place, the freaking the waterfall, the pressure, man. It's
Yes.
incredible experience. Daniel, we got about 13 minutes left here. Again, guys and girls, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. We've had some good engagement so far. This is Daniel Henderson of Regional One Health. Daniel, my question for you next, man, is, you've been in that position for a while. What do you think has been the most like thing or most proudest moment you've had in that position? Or maybe it's something you've done, you've implemented, you've installed, or a lesson learned that you learned from it. What do you think has been the most like, that's just the aha moment that you've had so far at Regional One Health?
Oh man, being honest in healthcare, every day is a aha moment. Every day is a proud moment. Um, every morning I wake up, I wake up with one mission, and it's to make a positive impact in a negative situation for someone. Um, you can only touch one life at a time, but I guess if I had to choose something, it would be a lot of processes and procedures in my department. I spearheaded it, and I love teaching as well as learning. So I developed training programs and things of that nature. So those are the biggest things that I saw. I'm a natural innovator. If I see a problem, I have to fix it, and I will obsess over it until it's done. So we've made a lot of changes technology wise, which is my realm. I love to see us get to the next level when it comes to technology. My goal is to build a legacy where we are the example for other organizations, and um, I I would just say, man, we make an impact every day, and I want to make sure that all the officers and all of my parking staff and shuttle drivers are making that positive impact in a person's vulnerable or chaotic situation, being that peace in the chaos for those people. So that's always my aha moment. My lessons learned is when we make a mistake or we failed to de-escalate in time. Um, but a lot of the time for me is really being the change that I expect from other people and representing well. When people see me, I always have a smile on my face. And if I don't have a smile on my face and you say something, I promise you'll see the biggest smile that you've ever seen because I want people to feel comfortable and I want people to feel safe. And when people feel comfortable and safe, they tend to tell you things and provide you with information that you need to make their work life and their visitation a whole lot better.
Man, Daniel, question just comes to me, man. I think I know the answer to this already, but I'm going to ask you it. I mean, like, how do you stay motivated, man? Because obviously, if you're dealing with different environments and different people and situations, I know healthcare is not the same every single day. You got everything's something new, but I mean, how do you stay motivated and have that self drive to be in that positive mindset and aspect and be that leader when people look up to you or people expect you to be? How are you doing that, man?
So my story is rough. My upbringing was rough. My life was rough at one point. Um, but it was all temporary. It didn't last. I didn't stay in it. So every day I get up and man, I'm already motivated to do what's next. I'm already motivated to make a change. It's because I can't sit in self doubt, self pity. I can't sit in anger. I can't sit in confusion. I push myself every day to find the good in it. And if it's a problem, find a way to fix it. I'm one of those people, man. If there's a problem, man, we have to talk about it. Let's sit down and have a conversation about it. You may not be ready now, but when you are ready, let's have that conversation. I am very receptive of criticism. I want to know if I've done something to offend or hurt or um, punished you or whatever the case may be, however you felt. Your perception is the reality and how you feel about me, and I want to change that perception. So, in order to do that, I have to be in the mood to make that change, and I stay in the mood because I know that that emotion that I'm feeling won't last forever. It's only temporary. I don't identify it as a real thing. It's just a response to something, and I if I'm in a bad mood, man, I play a song or I get a quick 10-minute workout in, or man, I sometimes I just sit in silence and allow those thoughts and those ideas to leave my mind. And I meditate and pray every day to stay motivated. Because again, I want to be an impact. I want to make a positive impact in a negative situation. And in our environment, sometimes negativity is always there, and you have to find a way to be positive in the midst of it all. Make someone laugh, make someone smile, tell a joke. Just don't be too inappropriate in your workplace, but allow yourself to be yourself. Allow yourself to feel emotions. I acknowledge my emotions. I feel them. I had a hard time starting out in my career. Had a hard time with emotions. I was quick to anger a lot, and I've learned, and I grew up learning, and I grew up in the church, man. And my granddaddy and my aunts and my godmothers and my mother used to say, "A wise man is quick to hear and slow to speak." And I never every day when I feel like I'm too angry, I listen first before I say anything, and I allow myself to process the information. So yeah, if you're an emotional person, feel your emotions, but get over it, get up, move on, move forward.
I love that, man, and I'm sure you've had your fair share of leaders or managers in the past where they're quick to pull the trigger, they're quick to react, quick to have that emotion, and sometimes that high emotion is not always going to work well in that environment. So you're to your point, it is better sometimes to just sit back, soak it all in, reassess, take some time to make a decision or make a judgment call or whatever have you, versus your knee jerk reaction half the time. But I love that piece of counsel, man, because obviously you played football, I played football. I think we know when to flip that switch when it comes to what we need to get done. But it's having that, again, that humility and that composure to react and operate in a manner that's respectful but transparent and accountable and XYZ. I mean, that's obviously something you've done very well. Is you're very communicative, you're very open, you're receptive, but also accountable, right? And then same thing for technologies and products that you implement that may be not living up to what you hope they would be. You would take ownership of that, and I've seen that. I've seen you say that before. I've seen other people that I've spoken to say that before, and I think that's honestly what makes the most successful people in this world is when they can have that kind of culture and kind of characterization about them. And so, kudos to you, man, for obviously operating like that.
Man, I appreciate it.
We got about 5 minutes left, guys and girls, and so typically I'll wait for one more question if we have it. But if you have a question for Daniel, please drop it in the chat. We got 5 more minutes left. But typically, Daniel, at the end here, some people want me to ask, hey man, what manufacturers are you using? What's the actual name? How can I get involved with Daniel? How can I get him to show him some product, my solution? You know how it is, man. Obviously, you go to trade shows, you go to IC West and GSX, and I know the big healthcare show, IAHS or whatever it's called. There's a lot of them out there, and they want your time, dude. They want your time because they want to show you what they have to offer and get that glorified sales pitch. But are there any manufacturers, man, that you want to point out in your arsenal or Regional One Health that you're like, yep, this is a reliable solution that we've used for years. We love it. We use it every day. Any shout outs you want to give? right now?
Hey man, and currently right now, as far as systems goes, man, we're using Cantech for our access control, use Exact Vision for our CCTV systems. Um, they're great products. My advice to anyone is do your research on the products and find the one that fits your solution. I love it for here. I love what it does. I love its capabilities. Um, but I am also open to other products and seeing what other products do. I'm one of those people, man. I'm not married to anything. We use a lot here. If you want to reach out to me, please do so. Send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm pretty much so most of the time very responsive. But if you want to just collaborate and bounce ideas, hit me up on LinkedIn, connect with me, let's talk. I will share my number with you. I will share my email with you, and we can bounce ideas off each other here, regardless of the market you're operating in. Sometimes it's best to get a different set of eyes to get the appropriate answer. Um, I'm one of those people, man. I'm an open book. I try not to close it often, and I'm very receptive and very responsive. And I tell people all the time I work 24/7. Taylor knows he can text me at 2 in the morning, and he's most definitely going to get a response at 2 in the morning. So um, yeah, right now that's what we're using. Are we looking at other systems? Yes. We want to see what other systems have to offer. But for the last 2 decades, Exact and Camtech have been what we've used.
Well, it's good you say that because I almost feel like it's a disservice for end users to be stuck with a certain manufacturer sometimes, and not to discredit like the legacy manufacturers. And again, if there's a manufacturer that you love and use and it's working for you, don't fix what's not broken. But I almost feel like you should always have that open door because again, just like a new iPhone comes out every single year, there's always new things that come out. You should always be receptive of what's coming next and what could be, taking advantage of your current solution. Because sometimes, and Daniel, you know this, man, you have a certain manufacturer and maybe they haven't been innovative the last couple of years. They haven't added features, but their competitor has, and so that maybe that's an obligation to look somewhere else. So I like that perspective. And to your point, you are always available 24/7. So he's not wrong there, guys and girls. If you guys want to reach out to Daniel. Last question that came in here again from our friend Chadwick. What's your favorite part of being a leader in security? That's a great question to close off.
Oh man, people. I mean, I love dealing with the different personalities and different modes of educating people. Everybody learns different. Um, I'm just one of I learn from a new officer every day. I learn from a new employee every day because attitudes are different. Um, the way I grew up and my work ethic is different from another person, and I've learned to accept that. But I've also, in being a leader in security, I just like dealing with different people, listening to their ideas, listening to their complaints and their problems, and providing solutions that they didn't know they needed, or saying the right words at the right time. Have I said the right words at the wrong time? Yes. But saying the right word, not being afraid, being a people servant. I'm a people servant, man. I love being out and engaged with the community. In the healthcare environment, you have to be in the community a lot because that's who you serve mostly. And when I say community, I mean internal and external. I go around and I try to talk to staff as often as possible. I try to be seen as often as possible to show people that I do care. And we have a lot of satellite clinics and satellite locations that I try to touch quite often to make sure that they're okay. And I try to be that person. So yeah, that's what I like about being a leader in security. That's my favorite thing is the people.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, Daniel, we're at the top of the hour, my friend. Any closing comments or words of advice before we part ways here?
Uh, let's see. Closing comments. I would say this. If you're looking for systems or you're dealing with system issues and you're having those challenges, be honest with yourself. Being honest with yourself helps you go ahead and tackle the problem. The more you ignore, the worse it gets. And trust me, it gets expensive. If you're being introduced new technology, make sure that the next technology is not 3 weeks away. So always ask the appropriate questions and take your time. Unless you just have an immediate need when it comes to technology, take your time and see what's out there before just making a permanent decision on something. I've done it, and the reason why I say this is because I bought a camera, and next week that camera has been discontinued, and they're selling a new one. So I always ask, hey, what's next? Is something else coming out? Ask those questions. So that's why I'm gonna get off my soapbox. That's all I have.
No, and also I think Daniel's alluding to you should just subscribe to SVIP because we'll help you with that that
Most definitely
challenge.
do that. We will. We will.
Well, Daniel, my friend, pleasure was all mine. I genuinely appreciate you spreading your expertise and credibility with the audience today, my friend, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, dude. I really appreciate the time.
Hey man, tell the kids, Kate and the kids for me, man. And I appreciate everybody for taking the time to listen and answering all these great questions. I like answering questions, so it's great.
Awesome. And well, guys and girls, that was Daniel Henderson, Manager of Security and Parking Services for Regional One Health in Memphis, Tennessee. Go connect with him on LinkedIn. He's an open book. He's a leader in healthcare security. I love promoting him, so please ask questions. I want to give a shout out again to our sponsors today, Volt AI. Thank you for sponsoring. And then next week, make sure to join us again on SVIP Live because we are going cyber. That's right. We're going to feature our first cybersecurity leader from the school district here in Texas. His name is Christopher Carr. Great guy to learn from, former hacker as well. So I always like to learn from hackers. But make sure to tune in next week, and you guys stay safe out there. Thanks for joining.